He runs Human Error Publishing, and I'm sure he's quite capable of introducing all his poets. He's National Beat Poet Laureate, and I'm very lucky to have him here. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you, Lisa. It's been great doing this project with you. And Human Error Publishing is really just honored with the number of writers. Hopefully you've heard many of them over these last 2 days. There are many writers who were not actually even in this 2 days too that are also in this book. We may have, who knows, another reading with them and others coming back. I'm going to go very short because I want to jump right into the folks who are here to read. The folks here, by the way, have either been published, a couple of them with Human Error Publishing, or they've honored Human Error Publishing with being at the events, the festivals that Human Error Publishing used to put out before COVID. And we hope that we will be able to get back together again to do that and come together. And this is the nicest ways that we have today in terms of trying to maintain that. So it's great to see all your faces there. Please tell your friends. This has been recorded, so people will be able to come back later once we get it up for you to be able to watch it. And so let's get right into the poets will just jump in right after each other. They know their order, so we won't get into too much. They have books. They've been published. They travel. They've been killing it on stages. Check them out. Check them out because they are the people that I love, and I'm glad that they're here. And one of my favorites who's going to start today is Candace Current. So please welcome her, and then we'll run right through everybody, and I'll be at the end. So thanks for coming out. Thanks for sticking with us to the end here. Candace, take it away.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Lise, for inviting me and for organizing this amazing 2-day festival. It's been great. I've been stimulated to the point where I need to hurry up and go out and purchase books and make library loans and write some more poems. I thank you. The first poem is titled, Yes, We Have No Bananas. In the new trickle-down economy pandemic, macaque monkeys steal spray cans, fight turf wars, brawl and reproduce like crazy. They are hungry, starving. They are captured, sedated, castrated, and tattooed, released with numbers fast-tracking reproductive rates. Since lockdown, since the ban on travel, tourists with their selfies, trinkets and treats for stealing. No feasts at the temple, no monkey buffet. Since the stink of it, unbearable, excrement everywhere. They grow more aggressive, running riot, as uncontrollable as the virus. Monkeys buried their dead in the projection room, in the back of an abandoned cinema in Thai City, where humans live in cages. Scrambling for scraps, we dream ourselves back into their pockets. Scrambling for scraps, we dream ourselves back into their pockets. The next poem has been published, has been, in Honoring Nature. And the title is Birds in Winter. Falling branch to branch, an avalanche of blue jays toss icy snowballs, and everyone makes a run for it. Gray squirrels in starts and stops, the cannonball sun rolling out of town, making her want to ski pole stab snowbanks, to detonate and undo herself, try to kill time or make peace with 4:30 and giving in to giving up, going home where happiness has unraveled somehow, won't stay, won't sit at the kitchen table and think things through, hash things out, leaving her all by herself to restuff and restring Scarecrow, to pick over the jumble of his cryptic bones, to reinsert herself again inside the hidey holes of his fractured corset, a temporary sanctuary for a bird like her, a safe house until it isn't. His shirt's on the line, ghost lighting in the half light, frozen prayer flags. This next poem was written for my adopted land trust for writing the land project. It's called Various Bog Monsters, Eagle Reserve's Peninsula Trail, Mount Grace Trust in Royalston, Massachusetts. Parking across from the farmhouse, a mob of pin-headed far-side guinea hens charge. Watch out for the rooster! A farmer grins from the door and we scramble, hustling past comical football-shaped fowl, herded by a bully rooster, to arrive at Trailhead, presenting us with a late autumn bog, a still life walk to Land's End. Beaver lodges, looking like empty rentals dotting the perimeter, a trickle from the opposite shore leaking the location of their dam. A surround of pines point skyward, or loll on the ground, pencil chewed. Others stand charred where lightning lit the narrow path, and oh, this clear, cold oxygen, the sun going down, beginning hypnosis. Where has it gone, the afternoon? White specks falling on needle carpets, disappearing. We seek hibernation, a nap. Shall we just sleep here until spring kissed? Wake to a new soundscape? The snipe's winnow, a pumperlunk of bitterns, the bother and bite of tiny insects, their whine and whir. We walk instead, the plank, a finger peninsula, thin ice, etching water's edge, back where guinea hens as watchdogs sound, ratchet up their two-syllable staccato, and a brash red-headed rooster hackles up, runs fence between us. This is actually my background. It's Eagle Reserve. This last poem was written for Interface, a collaborative word and image project, much like Authors and Artists Festival, where I was fortunate enough to pair with the recently late photographer Les Campbell. So you can imagine a beautiful forest and the morning breaking through. The photograph is titled Through the Light. Morning stokes the stove, and Hope lifts her head from the kitchen table like she heard her name being called. She staggers from shadow and shade to see light, stuttering, without obedience or control, sparking the hard dark. This is what we want for ourselves. In a stand of trees, we are crows brought to something shiny. Suddenly, the sun.
Thanks so much, Candace. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Paul.
Robert, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa and Paul. This has been so awesome. You know, this whole festival has just been incredible. The first three I'm going to read are from the Honoring Nature anthology, and the first one is Pierpont Meadow. This is one of my favorite places year-round. Bare feet on the grassy path, spring births unparalleled joy. This conduit between worlds, grass gives way to rough needles. Tall pines arch, a portal to silence, introspection, whispers weaving through the forest, evergreen slicing my dull senses awake. A stream bends through marsh grass and cattails, sliding under the path to the waiting pond. Now the trail forks. To the right, a wooded path will reach the water. To the left will loop past the Sunning Beaver's dam. Cycles, seasons, changes. The gestation of spring, dance of summer rhythms, circles of fall all lie down and sleep in winter. This is another local place in Dudley, Perryville Dam. This is called Conjunction. This is the sweet spot where time slows. The marsh explodes with sound. Red wings caw, full-throated joy, calling to make life. A wood drake observes from the channel, patiently awaiting his chance to impress. Slowly moving water, heading for cataracts just downriver. Patchwork of greens and browns, new growth sprouts from decay. The river flowing over the dam, background music for the bog. Bright red buds on trees, highlighted by overcast skies. Standing on the bones of my ancestors, I am here now. This is another local place. I try to stay local. This is on the French River, and I spent 2 weeks every day after work just listening to the river, and I felt like this was a gift. This is called susurration. In a language all it's known, the river speaks in susurrus, syllables sometimes sibilant, soft slaps of waves over stones, sweeping sensuously across branches, swirling into eddies around corners, speaking in soothing textures, showing off its splendor, singing surreptitiously for those with ears to hear. This is another new one. This is called Everything Belongs. I am a tree, grown up, twisted and gnarled from bending backwards towards the light, having spent too much time in shadow. I am a stream, flowing hither and yon, picking up stuff, meandering through strange lands, sometimes singing, often murmuring, seeking an ocean. I am a cloud, pursuing the heights, blown about and set off course, filled with moisture and vapors, stretched out and dissipated, at times reflecting the colors of the sun. I am the universe, born of stardust, a miracle of contradictions, energy and matter, moving and static, constantly changing and adapting, neither created nor destroyed, only being. Thank you so much. I waited 1 year to do my COVID poem, and this idea appeared to woke me up twice with a dream. So it's called Still Life. Fruit bowl, oil on canvas, a still life of someone's table. Generations later, it is life captured in that moment. Still, life goes on when the world is frozen in a death-like grip. Still, life will find a way. Life still has a way of emerging from death, where breath is stilled and life is slowed till all remains perfectly still. After the vaccine slays the virus and we have buried our own slain, one question remains: will we still take life for granted? And lastly, this I told Lisa I wouldn't bother her this month because she was very busy. This is actually for the Migrations anthology coming out later this year. Thanks for the fingers, Lisa. This is for the Douglas State Forest. So many paths, each trail a new exploration, subtle. You need to pay attention to the portals between the trees, where moss gathers, another world awaits. Your senses keen, dream awake another realm, where nipmunk hunt, deer surrender, granting them another November, balanced lives and grateful hearts. Sit beside the stream which slips through the forest floor, more than it seems, carrying detritus, nourishing flora and fauna over and under rocks, singing, splashing, gurgling, laughing, bringing life. Woodpeckers' rhythmic thrumming signals change, impermanence. New growth sprouts from dead rot, Small creatures shelter in old stone walls, lichen-covered bones of yesteryear's civilization. When my mother left this world, I spent a week in mourning. The arboreal inhabitants heard my cries, passed no judgment, and at last her sigh on the evening breeze as she passed on. All things ephemeral. Memory migrates from then to now and back again. Stories we tell weave the tapestry, connecting families, tribes, peoples, dreaming a vision, forging a future. Thank you so much. It's been so great to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Thank you. Aaron, take it away.
Okay, are we all set? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good?
You're-
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to be a part of this event honoring nature and life. I will start out this afternoon with a poem, my poem that's in the new anthology, but it was published first here in this anthology, Nuclear Impact, Broken Atoms in Our Hands, which came out in 2017. And this piece comes from my experience. I taught English in Japan when I was younger and had an opportunity to go to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so this is related to that experience. It's called Hiroshima Shadow. We will not repeat the error, the cenotaph says, but it seems we only repeat the errors of war, unable to find our way to a new path. Decade upon decade, demand upon demand, no one backs down, no one finds another way. And even the shadow of the man from Hiroshima blazed into cement steps is not enough to move all hearts to peace. So, a serious start to my reading. The other three I'm going to read for you today are from my book, Golden Autumn, which came out last June. And the first piece comes from an experience I had. My first job out of high school, I worked at a toy factory for 1 week before I got a better job. And then also just observing our consumer world during my lifetime. And it's called All the Useless Things. Tire treads and snow boots leave Art Deco patterns in the mud and mush. Lip balm hides in containers resembling fruit. Crayons smell like food. Yet we cannot feed everyone, though we know how to grow, how to store. Singing fish and dancing Santa dolls fill department store shelves, cheap entertainment for the price of the plastic and the batteries. Trinkets cram the aisles, 1,000 things to amuse and beautify. Fluorescent funny keychains, glittery nail polish, glow sticks, oversized mugs, undersized shirts, and yes, I bought them, gave them to friends and laughed. Though I knew the dye went into the water and the polyoxymethylene and the acetone and the phenol degrade slowly, and the workers in China have it bad. Worse than I did that summer at the toy factory, when the boss told me I couldn't lean my back against a barrel to relieve it, while his girlfriend sat in a chair, both of us tying red and white striped ropes into knots, tossing them into barrels. I never knew what those ropes were for. I was educated that summer of '74, standing all day on the cement floor for my $3.15 hourly wage. And so, yes, I know something about the global economy and useless things. Okay. And this piece I read online last year for the Grassroots Central Masses celebration of Earth Day. And last year was the 50th anniversary. And hang on, I need a sip of water. And so this piece is called Arms Around Mother Nature. We are trying to comfort her, this mother of ours, whose cries are now audible to all. Even the most callous of souls can hear, can see. Scout troops pick up trash each spring, and enterprising lads make bracelets out of the plastic they pluck from the ocean. The profits creating equipment and jobs, to take away the thousands of pounds of our modern conveniences thoughtlessly tossed into her blue-green waters. The well-intentioned push to go strawless, recycle everything, consolidate trips in the car, walk more, need less. She is burning. She is flooding. She is quaking. She is choking on our dross. We must tell her we care. We must lie on her soft grass, hands out, and say, we love you. We are sorry. Please forgive us. Okay, and last is a piece that comes from a hike I took when I lived out in the Northwest, outside of the Seattle area. And I hadn't done a lot of hiking at that point in my life, but I had a girlfriend who had. And so she would take me out into the woods. And this is called Spoken Word. Two young single girls on a Saturday, your old station wagon named George and your black lab named Blue, we were feeling good and free as we set out toward Issaquah to get out of the city, out of our 9-to-5 and into an adventure. It is years ago now. I remember I didn't have hiking boots, just my old college snow boots, scuffed faux leather with red laces and spongy soles. And it was fall, cloudy and dramatic, like it is in the Northwest. Hiking deep into the trees, off of an old logging road, we came out onto a ledge, sat to eat our sandwiches, and my 35 millimeter rolled to the bottom of the ravine, but Smart Blue went down and got the thing. After lunch, we hiked a little higher, and there was a moment when we both stopped short because we heard it at the same time, not a sound, but a thought coming from a fir tree. And you grinned at me because trees always spoke to you, but it was my first time. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you, Karen. Excellent. Great to hear you. And now, Roger from the compound of the Sex Pistols. How are you, Roger?
I'm good. I'm just unmuting. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And we're so glad to see you.
Good. Right. That's great. Okay. I'm going to attempt to do a screen share. I'll start again. I'm going to attempt to do a screen share. Right. Can you see that?
Looks good. We can see it. We can see it.
Right. Okay. Well, you might know that squirrel because he lives in Turner Falls, just a little bit down the road from the Shea Theatre. Yeah, and he's well. I've got a little bit more to say about him, but we'll get back to him. But I just thought I'd leave him there. His first poem is nothing to do with squirrels. I'm picking up on what Simon said about everything being risk averse these days. So I'm going to risk averse myself, or maybe 2 or 3 verses, I don't know. This is called Fair Game, and it was inspired by my Auntie May, who went out into the woods near where she lived and soared through the rungs of ladders going up into the trees where the hunters used to go to shoot deer. She wasn't against hunting for food, but she didn't like it for sport. She said it wasn't fair. And at the time I was writing it, it's when, I can't really say his name, but that person who was elected president 4 years ago was just elected, and he was starting building walls and watchtowers. Part 1. Dank autumn nights, she silently stood, a hawk with a hand saw deep in the woods. She saw Jacob's ladders to the kingdom to come, angel of mercy, ascending the rungs. 13 steps up is the measure of man, fire in her eyes, blade in her hand, she cut through the bars, leaving just enough give at the hint of a foothold to snap like a twig. The hunters on high, their AK-45s, their night vision goggles, their crosshair laser sights, not for the beauty, not for the meat, roe deer exploding, too scattered to eat. Part 2. Helicopter gunships indiscriminately strafe their way across parched plains. Gazelle, giraffe, zebra, springbok bounce and spin, somersault and cartwheel ahead of the rain. In Colorado, the hunter stalks the mountain line, following the cloverleaf prints in the snow until he comes full circle and finds his own tracks, the paw prints now following rather than preceding. The huntress now becomes the hunted, stalked to her bower, bearded in her lair. Actaeon run to earth for his transgression and ripped apart by his own hounds, tastes his own medicine, swallows his pride along with the blood in his throat. Assailed by space invaders, high on the observation tower, Charles Whitman invents the video game. Sights fixed on immortality, he squeezes, reloads, squeezes. Pac-men, pac-women, pac-animals vanish from the screen. Black sedans glide around the monoliths, invisible in the shadows cast by the Southern Californian sun. Construction prototypes already the tarnished traces of civilization that imploded under its own futility. See how the gun emplacements point both ways. Part 3. Dank autumn nights, she silently stood, a hawk with a handsaw, deep in the woods. And deep in the woods we wait for the day the hunter becomes fair game for the prey. Thank you. Now, going back to this squirrel who lives in Turner Falls, he would come up and chat with me when I was in Turner Falls for the festival a couple of years ago. And, you know, we had quite a long chat. And I was thinking about, there he is in his sort of children's picture book, This is Anthropomorphic Cuteness. And I asked him that question: are squirrels destined to become the next domesticated animals? So here we are, squirrel, slightly foxed. He stands as if buttoning his waistcoat while he considers those who have gone before. The ruminants, saddled, tethered, then the caged and feathered ones, cats, dogs, yes, and rabbits and rodents. What would he give up for a life less disorderly? Plumped up in pinafore and bonnet, primed in frock coat and pocket watch, poised on the cusp of domesticity, ready to come in from the cold? Vulpes vulpine, no supine compromiser, scourge of chicken coop and crib, carnivorous raider, this Reynardine, not yet outrun, outgunned, outfoxed, still ahead of the baying privileged packs. He knows the snow will cover his tracks as he slips unnoticed into spring. And this next poem is based on this painting by a friend of mine called Penny Travers. It's called Seed Pods, and she drew this at an art class where seed pods are very prevalent things for budding artists to paint. And I was very entranced with this, so I wrote this poem about it. It's called Podcasting. Cusp of dawn, crown of dusk, those husks of time, the intoxicating musk that invites and entices, leavings of bark and leaf and fruit suspended, ripe, pendulous. Perpetual transfer and promotion, nothing is wasted. Repollinated seed, refertilized flesh, regorged and resurging. Through yellowtail, browntail, wormwood pug, chafer, leafcutter, ladybird bug, through cloud-bordered brindled pine hoverfly, snowberry clearwing, bright line, brown eye, through white letter hair stretched through fletch and foil, and by lugworm toil, through sand and soil, and even the shuck and shell is podcast into still lives for propagating artists. Okay, penultimate one now. This is about the Copenhagen theory of quantum mechanics, which we were talking about, not very much really. We just touched on it yesterday with various people. And as you know, the quantum theory of quantum mechanics was refuted by Schrödinger, who wrote Schrödinger and His Cat, who postulated the story about a cat. And I thought, well, other famous cats in literature, like, for example, Dr. Seuss, who wrote about the cat in the hat rather than the cat in the box. So this is the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics refuted by Dr. Seuss. I'm not a fox in a box, or a lox in a box, or a rat in a box, or a jack in the box. I'm old hat in a box, a lot of old tat in a box. I'm that cat in a box, a paradox in a box, in 2 pairs of socks, the ticks and the tocks of the radioactive clocks. I sat in the box, I shat in the box, but the box has no locks, so a couple of knocks and I'll open the lid for my escape bid, if it's not too steep for a quantum leap. And let's just finish with something about nature. Mimosas. I got some mimosas for a friend of mine recently, and I was looking up, as you do, what's the significance of this flower? What does it mean? What's its symbolism? And I looked in several books, I looked on the internet, and there's hundreds and hundreds of different symbolisms and interpretations. It's like that with every bloody wildflower. You know, everyone has their own interpretation of it. So this is called Chacun à son mimosa. Oh, by the way, mimosas in some parts of the world are the symbol of International Women's Day, which is next week, and I think that's good enough, really. So let's stay with that. Chacun à son mimosa. Mimosa. Or Acacia dealbata, says the botanist, a bipinate wattle of the family Fabaceae. From the ancient Greek, mimos, says the classicist, to mimic, to resemble. Ah, but what does it resemble, ponders the lyricist. Corn cluster, candy floss, lamb's breath, powder puff, muster of cloud apples, marshmallow fluff. An invasive species, trumpets the populist politician, a colonizer, a threat to natural habitats, a weed requiring eradication. Violet, shrinking violet, the sad-eyed horticulturalist attuned to thigmotropism, notices how the leaves curl like cat's ears to the touch. The distracted poet sighs, opens his notebook and writes, a conjuration of secret love. Okay, thank you very much. And before I slide off back into my own thumbnail, I'd just like to thank, and a huge and immense thank you to Lise and to Paul for putting this together. I was at a poetry festival some years ago in Morocco, and I was asked, can poetry change the world? And I said, not exactly, but it can change people. And I think that's good enough. And we've had a lot about poetry and activism over these 2 days. And I think everyone is going to go out, not just changed in themselves, but to effect change. So thank you very much. Big kisses and hugs to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Roger, take off your screen sharing. There you go. Good.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Okay, it's already been done. We have the
good, right.
people behind the scenes who
I have people to do that sort of thing for me.
we do. You know, people we'll have our people call each other. But right
Exactly.
now, we're very excited to have Kate join us. Kate, everybody, when I mention your name, they go, Kate.
Yes.
So let's all do that again.
Troublemaker.
Kate,
Okay.
welcome.
I want to start. I've got you all on gallery view. I'm going to start with speaker. That's better. Right. I want to say something about yesterday. And in a way, it's what Roger was saying, but in a more personal thing. This morning, I woke up with a way forward about a 3D poetry project that I've had. The way forward has evaded me for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it was down to the talks and the poetry that I listened to yesterday, which just shifted me right back to where I should be and opened me up to stuff. And we all know that something like that is infinitely precious. So I want to thank everybody that was there yesterday and today, of course, as well. And to Lise and Paul for all the decisions they've made along the way that have made this such a rich and an important event for us all. Okay, today I have 3 poems to read and I have to do screen shares. So I begin with that. Oh, hang on, advanced. But now, I don't think that's, yes, it's going to work. Good. Sorry, Lise, I'll be quicker. Damn, that's it. Lise practiced me twice, so I ought to be better than I am.
No worries, no worries. Don't complain. Just you're doing it. You do
Don't
it.
complain. Okay, right. This poem, hang on, stop. Well, thank you. This was written in response to the first lockdown we had, which here was fairly strict. We were allowed out for 1 hour a day within a kilometre of the house, and that was investigated as well. So this is my response. It's called the Corona Shuffle. Cooker, table, refrigerator, table, stove, unsettled scores, saved objects, kettle, shelves, table, studio, balcony, radiator, despair, kettle, chaos, the dead, the dead, the dead, radiator. Bedroom, drawers, wild anger, studio, bookshelves, radiator, stairs, sofa, the past, CD player, cupboard, found objects, radiator, table, refrigerator, rage, cellar, books, paper, the past, coloured pencils, paint, unfinished stuff, terrace, sadness, grief, cooker. Got that in time, more or less. Right, and the next one is 3 rains and a meadow in the south of France. You will need a number of sunny days to prepare your field. It will continue to snow quietly at this time. It is normal. When you and it are ready, call for 3 separate days of unremitting rain, the sort that prompted the Noahs to build their ark. After the first day, hawksbeards will appear. You will hear them creak and purr as they turn their heads to track the sun. Put your ear close to the ground and listen to the roots slurping as they suck up the rain. If there have been days of good, clear light between the first and the second rain, you should hear crackling. It's from those pinky white honey flowers, heavy on thin stems as they slice through the green. As your meadow grows, they will dominate, and you will probably stop noticing the noise. Pick some and take them inside to draw. Away from the rest, they will quieten down. Before the third rain, you may hear a quiet snapping from the other side of the field. These are the forget-me-nots, as piercing holes in the green cover, looking for all the world like they've been here before. Sit quietly with them and remember. The third rain will bring completion. At its edges, you can see red clay through the grass and white and green star flowers splattered low to the ground with long petals that look like fingernails. They're just for your delight. In the depth of the meadow, find that fat green plant and listen to the deep whir as it slowly draws back the covers from the phalanx of its dusty pink flowers. Then sit back, look up, and enjoy the brand new light green fig leaves as they silently cut Matisse patterns in the clear blue. And the third poem is this one, and I want to do that and these. That's better. Okay. This one is a true story. Like all good artists, she had a hierarchy of what mattered. She lived in a normal street of terraced houses. She planted lavender in the tiny patch of soil by the gate and was happy when it strayed over the path and brushed her coat as she went by. She talked with the great ash tree opposite and wept when it was cut back. She drew the wild irises, the tree buds as they opened, the moss that furred the top of the walls, and the snowdrops who had shouldered their way through the hard clay soil in January. In the fall, she treasured the exquisite leaf skeletons she found buried beneath the piles of dry golden leaves that shushed as she walked through them. When it snowed, her path was crisscrossed with little webbed footprints. She fed the birds through the cold times and was satisfied when they drank all the top cream from the bottle left on the doorstep. At the end of the street she lived on, there was a great metal sliding gate, which was there to guard the people who lived in the big stone houses beyond. It clattered as it was drawn across the bleached gravel. Like all good artists, she noticed. She saw the man who came to the edge every fortnight with his low seat and box of tools. She witnessed him digging and rasping the shingle, removing every last tiny green leaf. And after he had hoiked out and squashed every bit of life away, she watched as he tidied away his tools and left. Like all good artists, she was vigilant. 2 days after Toolman's visit, she saw green flecks in and amongst the bleached white stones. Tiny green leaves, proud and defiant, ready to have their day. Like all good artists, she celebrated, as she had when she sidestepped the people who oppressed and tried to break her, as she had when Albie Sachs raised his broken body from the earth after the car bomb in Maputo, as she had when the Greenham Common women danced on the cruise missile silos after they'd slipped through the hole they had cut in the barbed wire. True artist that she was, she made us this image. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Right.
Yes. Oop, we got another view of something else.
Yeah, my desktop.
Hey, congratulations. And that was a beautiful movie with your thing spinning. I was there hearing the initial, I would like this idea to happen. Beautiful. Way to go. Roger, 1800s, look it up. The squirrel was the biggest pet of the nation. They sold them in pet stores. 1800.
Sold them.
Squirrels, I'm telling you.
Okay.
I try to make this stuff up, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
My name is Paul Richmond, and I'm always honored to read with the folks who just read. I hope you'll check out their works. And when you get a chance to hear them live, please do. They always have great things. I'm going to read one for those who heard it yesterday. As they say, why not hear it again? Those who are here new, you'll have it new. What do you know? And you might even hear something new from this because you didn't hear it yesterday, because who knows? It's in this great book. I don't know if you know, it just came out. By the way, I just put in another order. So there's almost 100 coming soon to my house and then near to you before you have grandchildren, I'm sure. This one is called Clouds, Hopes, and Dreams. And it's by this guy named Paul Richmond, who I don't know if you haven't met him. He's my twin brother. When you open your eyes, what do you see? Are you in the war zone? Are you in the woods? Are you in a hospital ward? Are you seeing death and destruction? Are you seeing beauty? Yoko Ono said, living in Japan after the bombings, she only wanted to look up into the sky to watch the clouds, see how they changed. It gave her hope that things do change. You can dream. You see dragons, faces, wild horses, whole stories unfold. Shown the unfamiliar, the abstract, formations that don't fit into neatly defined boxes, the beauty that is shown and washed away. There is no holding on, only taking in, appreciating, having to let go, the continuous changes, the darkness and then the dawn, the clouds passing overhead. It's coming, a story, it's coming, a storm. Here comes relief from the sun. Look at the beauty. To be overwhelmed, to not take it for granted. We will never be the same. It is all there for us to see. Have you looked up? Do you see? Do you feel the hope? Do you dream? Here comes the clouds. Here comes the clouds. Something that was brought up was how we see nature and then how nature is kind of transformed into something else. And so I have a number of books published, and this was actually in my first book, and it came out of my thought of my love for trees and then realizing what trees were made into, little sheets of paper, and then what was on those pieces of paper. And so this is called 8 Ways to Give Trees a Bad Name. Let me turn off my speaker in case you can all still hear me though, right? So here we go. 8 ways to give trees a bad name. 1, a parking stub. Lot 3, your car is not protected. We are not responsible for your tires being slashed, your radio ripped out, everything of value stolen. You will be charged for what is left and has to be dragged out. Plus, you owe us for the time you were parked here. Realizing everyone gets the shaft, this experience teaches you to hate. 2, a letter from the military. Be proud to do your duty. You are to report, to put in, to be in uniform, to fight to make the rich richer. You will either lose limbs or your life. Being blown to bits, you may come back physically intact with your emotions twisted, and you won't be any richer. 3, a doctor handed him a sheet of paper, had long names he couldn't pronounce. With columns filled with numbers, he was told that the numbers in column A were in his favor. He was also told that the numbers in column B were not. He had a short time to live. 4, the note said goodbye. I'm leaving. The reason? I'm not good enough for you. He thought, why didn't they ask me what I thought? The note said goodbye. 5, it was said that the test was positive. 6, it said you are the winner. The prize will be awarded. That if you don't send it in, you don't have a chance to win. You're the winner, guaranteed. 7, written directions. Take Route 34 all the way to the end and you come to a T. Route 34 didn't T, it turned into a Y. At the T, take a left, go 3 lights. I went to the left, there were only 2 lights. Take a right at the next street after the 3rd light, the street changes names. I took a right after the 2nd light. The street has the same name. After the park, we're the 5th house on the left. There was no park, just a bench by a tree. A light was on at the 3rd house. Knocking at the door, they said, what took you so long? And finally, 8. The guarantee, it was several trees with lots of fine print in it. Page after page with all the different possibilities, the reasons for and the reasons for why not. All he knew was it was broken and he had extra coverage. So he said to all the sales staff standing around, it was broken. They all nodded. He showed them the protection plan, the extra coverage, and they all laughed loudly. He wasn't laughing. He knew it wasn't going to get fixed. Let's see, I might have time for one more. So one more, I get a few thumbs up. So Adam has been brought up, from Adam and Eve, I guess. And so I wrote this a long time ago and did a piece about it as Adam's curse. So here we go. When the camera zooms in, there's a TV studio audience waiting. A sleazy host comes out from behind the curtains. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Back from the Dead. Let's hear it out there. The audience is hardly responding. Sounds a little dead out there. Watch out. You guys could be our next great guest star. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, our guest stars are brought back from the dead. And if you believe that, you might even believe their stories. Which brings me to tonight's guest. He's known for his short performance of eating an apple in God's country. He was the first half of that famous paradise couple, Adam and Eve. Unfortunately, Eve couldn't make it here tonight. She was having a women's support group, but we do have Adam. So let's give a big round of applause for Adam. Adam walks out with his hands stretched out like, you know, those dead movies, the mummies. Hi, Adam. Hello. The host says, and Adam, put down your hands. You're supposed to be back from the dead. Try to act a little more lively here for the studio audience. The host continues. Adam, as you know, the guest star on our program, tell us something we didn't know about them. Since we know nothing about you besides this apple incident and the sharing of the rib, this should be easy for you. Tell us something we don't know. Adam, well, I want to talk about my encounter with the snake. I've never been the same. I feel cursed. The host said, cursed, cursed. People love this kind of crap. This brings in audiences. Great, Adam. Tell us the story. It's National Enquirer kind of stuff. Let's hear about it. And remember, make it lively since you're back from the dead. Adam stands in a little closer to start his story. You see, I was pretty much left alone. God was very busy. And one day when I was by myself walking, being amazed by my surroundings, my mind started to ask some questions. What was my purpose here? I was trying to figure this out when I felt a pain in my side. And then suddenly Eve came along. But she didn't understand any more than I did. And we were each struggling with the question, what was our purpose in paradise? I wanted to ask God. I started a list of questions to ask. I just had one problem. I didn't really know what God looked like. So I was having a hard time finding him. One day, when I was thinking, I was realizing, you know what? I'm the first in everything. I'm the first human. I'm the first fisherman. I'm the first hunter, the first intellectual, the first hero. You name it. I'm the first. And I'm the best, since there's nobody else here. I'm the best in all these things. No one can actually question me. So since nobody really understands any of these things, I've decided I'm going to be the first artist. I started to let my imagination inspire me. And then I noticed God's artwork, the trees, the clouds, the birds, feeling the breeze. I became the first depressed artist. What was I supposed to be creating? How could my works of art match up to God's? I was walking out in one of the outer edges of the garden, and I was just sitting out there up against a tree, taking in, thinking I was a lousy artist, when suddenly from the distance, I could see it moving in the grass, and it started to come towards me. It had entered the Garden of Eden. I didn't know why. I didn't run. I just watched, and it moved, made me had it be in a trance. It moved, put me back into this tree. I was forced up against a tree, and then faster and faster, it kept coming up to me. And suddenly it parted in the grass and popped out. And there it was, the snake. And the snake had me cornered, pressed up against the tree. As the snake had popped up, I grabbed it and I took it in my arm, and I was struggling with it, trying to hold it in my hands because it looked like it was going to bite me. My strength was giving out. And just then the snake started talking to me and said, hey, you don't need God. You can be God. You can have all the power you want. And I said, really? He said, yeah. People like you, why not? You can do everything. Trust me. You want to get to know me? Yeah, yeah. He said, you have many things to tell me. He said, he liked me. He said I was special. I started to calm down, and we started talking. And I just kept listening. He was telling me of all kinds of things that I could do and have power. The snake told me with wild, funny stories of places he had slithered into. He talked of having passions. He asked me about my desires. I didn't know what he was talking about. He told me he was never bored. He talked of controlling his own destiny. Why not create your own world? Why be stuck here in God's world? He said he didn't need God. How could that be? He said he could see what God saw. He said that I could see what God saw. That he and I could conquer the world together. I was starting to like this snake. My heart was pounding. I was getting excited. I opened myself up to him and I relaxed my grip. And at that moment, he bit me. He laughed wildly, and then he slithered out of the garden. A funny feeling came over me, and suddenly I became very aware of my body. A radiant heat of desire that I tried to find the source. That's when I found out the snake had left me with a snake. I felt cursed by the snake. When I would wake up, my snake would be waiting there for me with his head sticking up above the grass, looking at me, trying to put demands on me. By its movements, the snake made its presence known like it had a mind of its own, acting restless, driving me crazy, making me wonder how the two of us could coexist. I wanted the snake to be gone, but no, there the snake would be, popping its head up to look at me, trying to lead me to where it wanted to go. This snake made it tense between Eve and I. As with the first snake, the snake had two sides. This snake made me feel good, which had me love this snake. And at times I found I hated this snake for its endless efforts to take control, make things complicated in paradise. This snake confused me. I tried to have clear communications with Eve. Eve and I were having our first potluck when she offered me the apple. My life then changed drastically after that. Oh, wait a minute. The host jumps in here. Whoa, Adam, come on now. You're not going to blame it all on Eve, are you? That it's Eve's fault that you ate the apple? Come on now. We've come farther than that from when you were there. Adam, okay, says, yeah, well, I can't really talk about it now. My lawyers have told me not to talk about it. So the host says, I understand. Well, is there anything else you want to tell us here, Adam? Well, yes, I would like to say, looking around, it seems like paradise has been trashed. And there are many, many more of you. It doesn't seem much has changed between Adam's and Eve's. If you could give any words of wisdom that would ease the pain, I would say snakes come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are colorful, some are playful and fun, and some are poisonous. If you don't look closely, they all look the same. So I would be careful of the snakes in the grass. Oh, Adam, you're beautiful. We love it for these kinds of shows. Ladies and gentlemen, snakes in the grass. Beautiful analogy. Thank you, Adam, for that curse. And he grabs his pants and pulls on his body as he looks down and says, snakes in the grass. Let's get everybody to laugh here. And now for our sponsors. And we'll see you next week when we hope to bring democracy back from the dead. Well, so much for the kids show, and thanks everybody for coming. I thought I tried to use enough of analogies, but hey, what are you going to do? Thank you, Lise. Thank you, everybody who read. I hope you'll check out the websites. Think of ordering the books. Tell your friends, and let them know once this goes in terms of the movies, because there's so much great stuff here, and you all did a great job of reading. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Lise.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.